What just happened? Jo Adell in a game where the Angels looked dead, looked lifeless. He wins the game. He wins the series with one swing of the bat. We'll talk about it right now. Locked On Angels Postcast. Let's get it going.
You are Locked On Angels Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Los Angeles, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, Halo Nation. Hello, Halo hopefuls, and welcome to the latest edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast, coming at you live, as always, after every single Angels game on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel and after the fact, wherever you get this darn podcast feed. I have been thrilled watching games. I have been disappointed. I have been worked into a frenzy, but I don't think I've ever been this stunned after an Angel win. The Angels did nothing today. Nothing. The pitching was great. Of course, but they did nothing. And in a matter of a few at-bats, a few pitches, they go from nothing to pitching substitutions that make no sense by the Mariners, to injuries, to 3-run game-winning home run from Jo Adell. I'm serious. I have never been this stunned, at least in the postcast era, watching an Angel game in my life. There have been walk-offs. We had one 2 days ago. But no, this was unreal. Shout out to everybody in here. As always, appreciate the love, the support, the views, the listens, everything. Leave a like, leave a comment. Jeff in here saying, wow, enough said. KC, 24J, light that baby up, baby. And Daniel Barry in here as well saying, happy Sunday. On today's show, we will certainly talk about, what would have been the story of the game other than the inevitable loss. What I thought I was going to talk about was, wow, what a pitching performance. What a lifeless offensive performance. We will give Carson Fulmer his flowers. We will give Rosny Contreras his flowers. We'll talk about a up and down outing from Hunter Strickland. But we have to start with Jo Adell and that crazy 8th inning and everything that transpired, because I've never seen a team go from that lifeless to leading in a matter of a few at-bats. Before we get into all of it, quick shout out to the sponsor of today's show, Booking.com. Booking.yeah, the right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your rivals. Check out Booking.com for your stay today. With all that being said, if you did not watch this game, you've heard me say it so many times. Oh, if you didn't watch this game, first and foremost, congratulations to you. It was one of those games for the first 7 innings. Absolutely no life. 2 hits through 7 innings. And somehow, by the way, more hits than the Mariners until the 6th. 2 hits through 7 innings. Nobody did anything. We had a Nolan Schanuel hit, a Zach Neto hit, a couple doubles that we were not able to turn into anything, and boy, was it frustrating. Other than that, abysmal performances. Taylor Ward does not know how to play baseball anymore, right when we're trying to trade him. 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. Calhoun was awful. Ohapi wasn't good. Keston Hiura is time to send him back down. But somehow, Logan Gilbert gets pulled by the Mariners. It made no sense. Why you're pulling Logan Gilbert. 87 pitches thrown at that point. And this guy had allowed 2 hits. He didn't walk a guy. There wasn't shenanigans, no hit by pitches, no box, no nothing. 2 hits, 9 strikeouts. He was phenomenal for the Mariners, as he has been all year. He should have got a win in this game. He has a 2.79 ERA. He should now be 7-5. But for some reason, if I'm a Mariners fan, gosh, did you blow this game? Did you blow this opportunity? You're kind of up and down. You're still first place in the West, but we know the Astros are coming for you. And you have 4 games against the Angels we know how bad the Angels are. You got to win at least 3 or 4. What an opportunity. You end the All-Star break at what would it have been? 54 and 44 if you win 3 of 4. You go into the All-Star break looking good. Now you lose 3 in a row and you lose the series to the Angels before the All-Star break? After your starter throws a 2-hit shutout through 7 innings? Unreal. Unreal. That is something that could completely throw you off. They're lucky there is an All-Star break, because if this was in the middle of the race to October, this happens in, August or something, this throws your whole season off. What a blunder by them. But I don't care. Bottom of the 8th inning, Ryan Stanek comes in for Logan Gilbert inexplicably and immediately makes that decision look foolish. He walks Mickey Moniak on 4 pitches, and then he's hurt, and then they have to take him out. So they could have had a game where their starter goes 8, maybe the complete 9, and instead they get cute, knowing they have time off with the All-Star break. Hey, might as well use the bullpen. Nope. Stanek comes in, walks Moniak on 4 pitches, and then gets hurt. And now their whole master plan, completely out the window. Austin Voth comes in. We've seen him get roughed up in this series already. He comes in and immediately walks Zach Neto on 5 pitches. So the Angels did nothing coming into this inning, and even with 2 guys on, they really didn't do anything to earn either of those base runners. 4-pitch walk, 5-pitch walk. You didn't have to think with most of them, not even close. So the Angels do absolutely nothing. They do not deserve to be where they are. But finally they earn it. And is there a guy you'd rather have earn it? Who you'd rather have on this roster right now hit this 3-run shot? Who needs it more? Who needs it more than Jo Adell? There's guys struggling. We know that. There's averages just as bad as Jo Adell's. Maybe Taylor Ward, you have a moment like this right before the All-Star break and then you ship him out of town. That's maybe the only other guy I'd want to see hit this bomb. And that's more if you're being really focused on the trade deadline and everything. But just in terms of a guy who you need to turn it around, you need it. It's Jo Adell. And he comes through in a great at-bat. Full count, falls behind 1-2, 2 takes on, the 2-2 pitch was an easy take, but the 2-2 pitch is a good sweeper, down and away. It's outside. Maybe it's something that most people are able to spit at and not swing at, but we've seen Jo Adell swing at those pitches and strike out. Boy, we have. We know how bad he's been in terms of strikeouts, in terms of facing righties in general. But he takes again, full count, and he got a meatball. The same way Willie Calhoun got this hanging sweeper from Voth. 2 nights ago, Jo Adell gets the hanging sweeper from Voth, and he crushes it. 400 feet, 100 exit velo, 3-2 Angels. Unreal. And you could sort of sense that something was going to happen in this at-bat. Not just because there's 2 guys on and nobody out. Not just because Jo Adell is now the game, the go-ahead runner, if he's able to get on or obviously hit himself in like he did here. But you could sense it, just the turn of events from the Angels are getting shut down, 2 hits through 7, to, wait, why'd they pull him? To, wait, Stanek 4-pitch walk, to, wait, now Stanek's hurt. Now, wait, the new guy, Voth, just came in and walked Neto on 5 pitches. It was building. And good teams, competent teams, and I guess even the Angels, they sense that momentum, especially at home, even if every seat was empty today with the day game on a Sunday right before the All-Star break. It was pretty empty. But boy, you could tell how much it meant to this team, but specifically how much this meant to Jo Adell. It looked like he hit a walk-off in Game 7 of the World Series. But for him, with how bad he's been, with how bad the team has been, right before the break, what a way to go into the All-Star break and feel good about yourself. You could see it. The second he hit it, he had a feeling it was gone. At first base, there's a great picture of him leaping all around the bases. Let's go, let's go. Not once, not twice. He had about 6 or 7 let's goes that he let out. He let out a nice scream as he was running down the third base line before he touched home plate. He was fired up, and rightfully so. A huge, unfathomable turn of events. If you're a Mariners fan, my goodness, if you're a Mariners fan, what a blunder. Not just this game, but this series. You lose 3 straight games by 1 run to the Angels. 3 straight games by 1 run to the Angels. You should really be 55-43 going into the All-Star break, just needing a couple bats to, accompany this unbelievable rotation and bullpen. But what a collapse. What a collapse. And we get to enjoy it. We get to enjoy it. Not once, not twice, but 3 times in a row. You win in a tight, exciting game at home against a division rival, against the first place team in the division. This was a fun series. This is a fun series. Now, I'm not going to be like the guys on the radio that are now already saying, now wait, if you get Rengifo and Trout back. No, come on. Let's not lose the plot here. But man, let's celebrate it. How fun was that win? And I was going to talk about, before this 8th inning, how once again, another case of why when this team struggles offensively, they struggle to the nth degree. Like 2 hits, like you don't even get like 4 hits or a couple walks and get shut out. Like, obviously I'm asking you to score some darn runs in the first 7 innings. But if someone told me, hey, your team's going to get shut out in the first 7 innings, most teams at least still have a couple guys on, you're stealing bases, maybe you get thrown out at home, there's a bunt, there's a bobble, a walk, something. There's nothing for the Angels. Always. It's always just like 1 or 2 hits and then literally nothing. And you get runners on second twice and you do nothing with it. Like, I was going to be angry, but it's amazing. Baseball is an amazing game. With 1 inning and with 1 swing of the bat, you erase all that negativity. You erase having a series split going into the break, and you have a fun, exciting series win. And Jo Adell, the average is still 190. The OPS is still barely over 650. He still probably has like the 2nd most strikeouts on the team or something. He's still been atrocious. But how good does this feel for him and for us, for the people who are just praying that he can find some luck, find some success, and maybe amount to anything close to what we thought he could in days past, years past, the potential that was there. So how exciting. What a dub. What a way to end this stretch, before the All-Star break, and good for Jo Adell. We're going to take our first break. When we come back, we got to talk about the pitching, because somehow, some way, Carson Fulmer had one of the best pitching performances of the season for the Angels, and it looked like it was going to come in a no decision, in a team loss. Thank goodness it didn't, but we got to give him his flowers and the rest of the bullpen, because they, for the most part, and especially him, got the job done. We'll talk about it after our first break here on the Locked On Angels Postcast. Now, once again, today's show is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. With summer travel heating up, especially travel for baseball games, it's time to explore those U.S. cities you always secretly wanted to learn more about. Yes, we are talking about your rivals' cities. With hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com, you might just find your perfect stay even in your baseball rival city. Now, Mariners fans probably don't want to come to the Big A anytime soon with what happened, but perfect timing. Anthony Jimenez hops in and says, hey, Anthony's the one. When I told him about Booking.com, when I told him that I'm going to New York literally tonight I'm going, and I said, I'm going on Sunday. I used Booking.com to buy the hotel in one part of the trip, a bed and breakfast in another part of the trip, and then the Angels couldn't win since then, and Anthony Jimenez said, can they win a darn game before Gavin goes to New York and uses his Booking.com hotel stays? Well, they didn't win one. They didn't win twice. They won 3 in a row since that. So I will be feeling extra good as I sit in my hotel and in my bed and breakfast, thanks to Booking.com. So from hotels that look over stadiums to family-friendly resorts, Booking.com has so many choices across the U.S. for your summer travel this MLB season. I'm literally going across the U.S. Thank you, Booking.com. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals. Book today on Booking.com on the site or in the Booking.com app like I did. Shout out Booking.com as always. And today's show is also brought to you by Supply House. Get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades. SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at SupplyHouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at SupplyHouse.com. Back here live on Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel. This is the Locked On Angels Postcast. I am Gavin Carlson. I was so stunned when I started the postcast, I didn't even introduce myself. I am Gavin Carlson. I spent 4 years as a credentialed journalist in the LA area, working with the Daily Bruin, covering UCLA sports, conducting interviews. I had to interview that guy named Chip Kelly. Not a fan. Let's just leave it at that. Jaime Jaquez, so many others, DTR, all those great guys and girls. And of course, I'm a part of the Locked On Podcast Network now. And of course, I'm still a little stunned. It's been about 15 minutes or maybe 20 since the game ended, and I'm still stunned because if you, like me, watch that game and watch those first seven innings, the Angels had no business winning this game. They did nothing, absolutely nothing. And somehow, some way, thanks to Jo Adell, thanks to a couple walks, thanks to a brain-dead decision from the Mariners, taking out Logan Gilbert on just 87 pitches thrown, having a 2-hit shutout going through 7. Thanks to all of it, the Angels win. The Angels win 3 out of 4. What a nice way to go into the All-Star break. Shout out to everybody in here, as always. Jeff, KC24J, Daniel Barry, Anthony Jimenez, IV, who says, Angels won this game? I checked the score, and it was 8-2 in the 8th. Yeah, that exactly. It was 8-2 in the, or 0-2 in the 8th, 0-2 in the 8th, excuse me, and that doesn't even tell the full story because it was 0 runs on 2 hits and absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Anthony says, another nice win. Fun. Alex, shout out to you as always. He says, Angels win. Anthony, we asked for 1. We got 3 wins. Absolutely. And then Fantasy Football says, bout to waltz into work tomorrow with some pep in my step. Boy. Yeah, absolutely. And you get to have that pep in your step, not for just a day, not until they lose the next day or something. Into the All-Star break, have that pep in your step through the All-Star game, watch Tyler Anderson hopefully do something, and be excited, because what a win. What a win. Now, the reason that despite doing absolutely nothing offensively, the Angels were in this game was, without a doubt, thanks to Carson Fulmer. He was stellar. Another reason why I'm stunned. He's been okay this year. Okay. But 4 2/3, no hits? No hits. He was better than Logan Gilbert through the first 4 2/3. Better than a guy who threw a 7-inning, 2-hit shutout. Carson Fulmer was better than that. Better than that. No hits, just 1 walk, too. 7 strikeouts, too. Where was this coming from? Where was this coming from? Easily, without a doubt, his best appearance of the season. And we've seen games where he's pitched 4 innings before, but not this well. He had the closest thing was April 13th against the Red Sox. 4 innings pitched, just 2 hits, no earned runs, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. That was good. That's the only other time he's pitched 4 or more innings. He had 2 games where he pitched 3 or more innings, and they were not good. 5 hits, 4 earned runs on April 27th against the Twins, and then 3 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, and a home run against the Rangers on July 8th. Pretty recently. You probably remember that game. But other than that, usually around the 2 innings pitched range, and still not that great, to be honest, most times. The ERA in the mid-3.5s. But boy, was he unbelievable today. Unreal. Like, I don't... He looked like a starter. Obviously, the opener strategy, people have mixed feelings about it. But he literally, when you have an opener, at best, you're hoping for 3 innings of shutout ball from your reliever, maybe 3 2/3 or something. Carson Fulmer pitched into the 5th inning without allowing a hit. He did not make this lineup have to do anything. He was stellar. And it's a bummer that he did not get to finish the 5th. It still worked out. Had a little shaky stretch in the 5th where he gets 2 outs. Then there's an error by Keston Hiura. Come on, if you can't hit, at least field. Nope. Error by Keston Hiura. Then the first mistake, Carson Fulmer hits Victor Robles. Then he walks Josh Rojas. And you're thinking, uh-oh, is this great start going to go to nothing? Is he going to give up a run or something here and then be the losing pitcher because the Angels have literally 1 hit at this point, I think. But instead, Hunter Strickland comes in. Was it the right time to take Fulmer out? I think so. You got to give Ron Washington his credit. You give this guy certain opportunities, or you give this guy Fulmer as long as he can go until he looks shaky, and you give him a little more leeway when the first base runner is thanks to an error, but then a hit by pitch, never a good sign, and then a walk right after, it was time for him to go. So perfect timing with the bases loaded. Hunter Strickland comes in, throws a 2-1 slider right down the middle to Dylan Moore. right down the middle. But thank goodness it's popped up. Zach Neto catches it. Angels survive with no runs allowed in the 5th. They, of course, did nothing. And then in the 6th, the one big mistake. Hunter Strickland. We talked about him hanging a slider and it being popped up. But boy, to lead off the 6th, this was not popped up. He hung a slider to J.P. Crawford, and Crawford destroyed it. He's been great this series. A 2-1 hanging slider, not good. Not good. Coming into a lefty, too, right down the middle, way too easy, and he crushed it. 101.3 exit velo, 410 feet. It's 1-0 Mariners, and you're thinking, oh, man. You're thinking, oh, man. And then the 7th really annoyed me because Matt Moore, outside of a walk, was pretty good. He strikes out Luke Raley. Victor Robles walks. Then he strikes out Ty France. You're like, okay, you're good to go. But Robles steals second. That's fine. Not fine, but he steals second. And then he steals third. Logan O'Hoppe with a throwing error. The rare mistake from Logan O'Hoppe. And Robles is able to go all the way home and score. So I was going to come in here and talk about, look at the Mariners. They stink at hitting. We know it. They somehow have a worse batting average than the Angels, than the A's. They're the worst in baseball, the Mariners, at hitting the baseball. And they're first in the AL West. That tells you something about their pitching, by the way. But they're literally as bad as it gets. But yet, in a game where they're getting shut out by Carson Fulmer, they find a way to hit a solo shot, and then they find a way to get one guy on, Victor Robles. One guy on, happens to be a speedy guy. He steals 2 bases and then scores on a throwing error, stealing third. That is the definition of small ball, creativity, using your athleticism, the exact thing the Angels were trying to do this year. They did it perfectly in this inning with the help of an error. And I was about to say, look at another team, kind of like when we played the Guardians, kind of like when we got swept by the A's, these teams that are not severely more talented than us, but they play small baseball the right way. And I was going to be angry. I was. But thank goodness that was it. Just those 2 runs. Able to get out of the inning was Hunter Strickland. Matt Moore at this point. Then Hans Kraus comes in. He has kind of a interesting outing as well. Bases loaded at one point. And yet, he got out of it. You got to give him his credit. Hans Kraus keeps that ERA pristine, sub 0.8. I think maybe even sub 0.7 at this point. So the bullpen was great. And then a surprise close opportunity for Rosny Contreras because Rowan's knee, I always struggle to say that, but Rowanzi, thank you. For once I did it right. Comes in for Hans Kraus and gets a 1-2-3 save. A Carlos Estevez save, despite it not being SD. So about as perfect as an end to a game as you can have after the 3-run shot from Adell, a 1-2-3, top of the 9th from Rowanzi Contreras. So absolutely great. Absolutely fantastic win. Hans Kraus gets the win. He's now 3-0 with a .71 ERA. So goodbye, Estevez. Goodbye, Luis Garcia. Goodbye, Matt Moore. Goodbye, Hunter Strickland. Trade them all, and you got Hans Kraus. You got Rosny Contreras. You got Ben Joyce. We're looking good. I don't know about all that. I'm being a little bit facetious, a little bit, exaggerating a little bit. But Hans Kraus has been great. He's put himself in trouble multiple times, but he's gotten out of it multiple times. That ERA tells you just that. So great pitching performance in another low-scoring win where the offense just does just enough to help a pitching staff that was phenomenal again. So great job by the pitching. We're going to take our last break here on the postcast. And when we come back, the All-Star break is coming up. I'm going to give you my quick thoughts on the first 96 games for the Angels as we head into the All-Star break. How do we feel about this team? Does this series change it at all? We'll talk about it after our last break here. Locked On Angels Postcast. We'll be right back. Now, finally, today's show is brought to you by Game Time. I told you, I'm going to New York. I'm literally hopping on a flight in like 6 hours. It's 4:30. The flight's at 10:30. I'm hopping on a flight to New York. I told you about Booking.com. They helped me figure out my stay. But the one thing I haven't figured out yet is my ticket situation because I want to go to a baseball game. But here's the trick. I haven't figured it out, but I have. I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm using Game Time. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball. It makes getting tickets faster and easier because here's the key. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. And so there you go. I have not bought my ticket. I totally messed up. I thought I was going to a Mets game. The Mets are on the road after the All-Star break. It's the Yankees that are at home. So I'll be going to the Yankee game. I've been to Yankee Stadium before, so I wanted to see a Mets game. I'm bummed that it'll be Yankee Stadium again, but you cannot complain. Going to Yankee Stadium, seeing one of the best teams in baseball, should be fun. They're playing the Rays. And the best part is I can go to that game, I can come back, catch the Angels game, and then give you guys the postcast from New York, because look at that commitment. But even though the game is less than a week away, I'm not stressing one bit. The prices on the app go down. You can save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets, not just for sports like I'm going to do, but also concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Who knows? I might pull a fast one and use Game Time on some other event, a concert, something in New York. Because Game Time, they're going to give me the best deal. They're also going to give me all-in pricing, where they tell me the price of the actual price of the ticket, including the fees, including the taxes, everything, when you go buy the ticket. Not after, when you've gotten all excited, and then you go to checkout, and then surprise, there's another $60 thrown on it. They tell you it right away. The lowest price guarantee, Game Time ticket coverage, and they tell you the view from the seat. I've been to Yankee Stadium once, but still, I don't know the view from half of the sections. They will show me the view on the app. So take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Back here live, Locked On Angels Postcast. Gavin Carlson on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel. The Angels, somehow, some way, I don't know how. I'm still genuinely stunned. They win this baseball game, despite doing nothing through the first 7 innings, thanks to a 3-run bomb from Jo, the hero, Adell. 3-run bomb. He was fired up. I was fired up with him. I know you all were as well. And the Angels win 3 out of 4 to end this stretch before the All-Star break in what has been a very rocky July, but you ended on a good note. You win 3 of 4 against the AL West leading Mariners, who are kicking themselves right now. What a missed opportunity to regain a decent lead in that division race on the Astros. But real quick, as we wrap up this postcast, what are my thoughts on the season? What are my thoughts as we head into the All-Star break? Am I satisfied with what I've seen? Am I surprised with what I've seen? Here's the deal. Am I surprised? No. If you told me the Angels were going to be 41-55, I'd say, man, that's a little worse than I expected. A little worse coming into the year. But if you told me no Trout for basically all of it, no Rendon, as useless as he is, for basically all of it, no Patrick Sandoval for the last month or so, Reed Detmers falls apart, Chase Silseth falls apart. If you told me all of that, if you told me that Jose Soriano would be, one of the best pitchers for the Angels this year, if you told me that, Hunter Strickland would be shaky and Matt Moore would not be good and all this, and if you told me that, Mickey Moniak and a Jo Adell, who we didn't think were going to be amazing, but maybe they could do a little better, if you told me all their averages and everything, then certainly I'd expect this record. Certainly I'd expect 41-55. And even if you just told me Trout and Rendon were going to be out, you'd expect the record to be even worse than I already thought it was going to be, which is not great. I was thinking maybe in the 500 range right now, and then you sell at the deadline, and then you drop well below 500. Maybe instead of 41-55, you're like 47-49 or something going into the break. That's kind of what I saw. And then you trade people, and then instead of being, a couple games below 500, then you start becoming 10, 15 games below 500. So to be below 14 games below 500 right now certainly hurts. Obviously, there's been a lot of painful games. It's certainly worse than I expected to some degree. But like I said, you don't have your best player. You don't have your other veterans. Your pitching rotation has been all over the place. Then it makes sense why the record is this bad. Now, with that being said, what do I want to see? Or what are the positive things, that I want to see continue? The bullpen suddenly has been, not suddenly, but especially as of late, has been great. And even though Estevez should probably be gone, Luis Garcia should probably be gone, Hunter Strickland should probably be gone, Matt Moore, if there's trade value there, should probably be gone. Even with that, I love what I've seen from Ben Joyce. You got to love what you've seen from Hans Kraus. I'm blanking here. Carson Fulmer all of a sudden has a good game. You're not going to trade a guy like him. Maybe he can build on it in the second half of the year. Even Rowan Z. Contreras maybe can find his footing a little bit, because they're going to have the opportunity when all these guys hopefully get traded. Offensively, the number one story probably was Kevin Pillar, ironically, the number one story of the first half, he has fallen off a cliff. Now you're probably not going to get anything for him. But I've been really encouraged with Logan O'Hoppe, of course. Really encouraged with him. I've still been quite encouraged with Zach Neto. 250 is but the leadership is there. The clutch hitting has been there at times. I think that's a W so far. The number one L, believe it or not, in my opinion, has been Taylor Ward. Because this felt like a year where Trout out, the team is bad, Taylor Ward's the clear best player. He's either going to step up and be a all-star level player that hopefully we could trade something for, or he could lead us to a 500 record when Trout comes back and everything, but he has fallen off a cliff. 228 for a guy who gives you nothing in the field, a guy who strikes out a ton. At least have a decent average or at least hit some home runs. No. 228, the trade value is plummeted. If you can get anything for him at this point, you do it. You get him off the salary, the wage bill. I say wage bill, it's more of a soccer term, but you get him off the salary cap. You get him off the payroll. Thank you. I found the word. And if you get anything for him, it's a miracle because he's been disappointment number one. Shanuel has been kind of frustrating, but he's heating up. And I've given him a pass. He was so bad at the beginning. It's so hard to see that average as bad as it is, but he's working it up. Same thing with the Mickey Moniak. Hopefully, same thing with the Jo Adell. But I'd say if I came in this season expecting a 47 and 49 at the All-Star break, which I would think given the team's roster and given the state of affairs is maybe a B- grade, then it has to be a C grade. I'm not giving it an F grade because the Angels' record is not this bad if Mike Trout's playing every day. It's not this bad, even as useless as Rendon is, if he's playing every day. It's not as bad if instead of these starter opener games, these bullpen games, it's actually Patrick Sandoval. It's actually a competent Reed Detmers. It's actually a competent Chase Silseth. I think the record is better. So we have to consider all that. I give it a C grade. It's not a D or an F. And this is not being overly confident or overly positive or anything like that. It just is what it is. Especially because the bullpen has turned their trade value around. And if you get something for those guys, if you still manage to get something for Taylor Ward, if Logan O'Hoppe continues to look like the future of the franchise, if Neto is, can be a little bit better, if Shanuel can be a little bit better, if Moniak can be a little bit better, maybe a lot of bit better, Jo Adell can be a lot of bit better, then the season is a win in terms of what we were trying to accomplish. Because we know if this team was 4 or 5 games over 500 at the deadline, we'd be buying and we would be furious. So it's a C. After the deadline is really when you give your grades, because if they have a B+ level trade deadline and then the young guys play well after that, then it's really an A- season given the circumstances. Maybe A- is a little aggressive. Maybe it's a B+ season. It's never an A- or A season if you are a terrible team, I guess. But just given what we're trying to accomplish this year, there's certainly a route where you can have an encouraging year despite being terrible on the field. So we're hopefully going to get to that after the All-Star break. Hopefully the trade deadline goes well. The draft I know is right now. I don't even know what's happening. They'll talk about that on the daily podcast. I know that. But yes, C grade for the first half of the season heading in the All-Star break, at least in my opinion. Hopefully it can be a lot better after the deadline. But with all that being said, screw the C grade. Give it an A+ for this series. An A for this series. Other than an abysmal 11-0 loss, you respond with 3 straight wins in 3 tight games in 3 different ways. You had a game where the hitting was good, and you got a walk-off. You had a game where the hitting was awful, but then it was good enough. And then you had a game where the hitting was even worse, but Jo Adell came through. And Carson Fulmer was stellar. So A series to head on the All-Star break to make you feel good before you watch that Midsummer Classic. So with all that being said, I'm Gavin Carlson, and thank you so much. I know it's not like the end of anything. We're just taking a few days off for the All-Star break, but it has been a great start to the postcast era. Thank you so much to everybody who's tuned in every day after every game. Shout out to Jeff for saying, have a great trip to New York. Be safe, certainly. Thank you for that. But thank you all for being loyal, for jumping in here after every game, win or loss, with me. Good connection, bad connection, all that. So I appreciate you so much. Leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know what you grade the first half of the season for the Angels. What letter grade? If you give them an F, I don't blame you. They've been terrible, but I just try to give it more context. So let me know in the comment section. Leave a like, subscribe if you aren't already. A surprising amount of you watching these are not subscribed, so please subscribe. It helps out a lot. And with all that being said, I'll see you in a couple days after the break for more Angels Postcast. I'm Gavin Carlson. Have a great All-Star break, everybody, and I'll see you after it. Take care. Angels win.